Hello. Today I'm working on a generic clone PC. This is a refurbished desktop PC. It's even got Windows 7 Home Premium for refurb PCs license. So it's obviously, it was an office PC at some point and then somebody refurbished it and sold it to the person who brought it into me. This computer is dead. He said it just turned off. He leaves it on normally, but he went to use it and it was turned off. And when he pressed the power button, nothing happened. I'm going to test that now. I'll plug it in and we'll see if it comes on. So I'll just give it AC power and some HDMI and an HDMI connection. Plug in my mouse and keyboard. Yep, nothing. Smells like cigarette smoke and dust. The CPU fan feels quite hard to turn, so it's hard to say what's going on. I see so the power supply is here below the hard drive. I'm going to unplug the power. So this 220 volt lead plugs into a female receptacle here that's attached to this cable. So there's a cable that runs through here that's high voltage. I need to be mindful of that. So there might be, what else is there? So at the top, no, that's it. Never mind. So I'm gonna plug in a known good power supply and see if it comes on. I might put on gloves. This is really grubby. The cables are zip tied together. So there's a CPU power and a motherboard power. There's a zip tie around all of these, so I can't unplug the motherboard without cutting that zip tie. So that is what I will do. This thing has been together for a long time. I'm just going to disconnect the CPU power connector here if I can. That's really on there. And then the CPU power has the latch back here underneath all of these other wires. With the CPU, or with the motherboard power connector, I find if you can get one finger to hold the button, to hold the latch in, and then just rock one end of it out, is a really good way to get it started. So now that's out. And I'll just hook this up to a cheap, known good power supply. Alright, so CPU power and motherboard power. Sneak it in there next to these, maybe underneath. I don't want to knock anything else loose. There we go. Nothing. So I suspect. Oh, but this button might actually be going straight into the built-in power supply. So I just need to figure out how to trigger my power supply to come on. I see connectors down here. Let's just check the microscope. So we've got kind of a front panel connector, so clear CMOS, power LED. So it's going to be one of these wires here. What's it say on the other side of there? Power and reset. So the power is that. It's these two here. I'll just get my straight tweezers. Not that one, my pointy ones. And see if I can short those. Well, I'm going to unplug these two and make sure the power switch is definitely this one. Okay. Just going to make sure that I've got the power supply turned on. Yep, there we go. The power supply wasn't turned on. Oh, this thing needs some fans. These fans are pretty awful, but they're turning. That's good. And we've got no boot device because there's no power to the hard drive. So this computer needs a power supply, and it has a unique, well, it's not that unique, it's just small power supply form factor. So let's get that power supply out and see what it will take to replace it. Turn mine off and disconnect it. Just going to take out these two screws, which I'm hoping lifts up this panel. Probably have to disconnect the drives to get this out. Yeah, so that panel comes up. I guess it slides. I can see that there's room for it to slide back. I'm going to need to disconnect. Alright, so I need to disconnect the cables so that I can move these drives. Alright, so now they'll slide out. That's kind of a clever case. Whoa. That looks like, it's kind of like heat, dust damage on the bottom of the hard drive. You can see this mark here. And so the hard drive was right above the power supply, the front of the power supply. I guess there's an air intake there, so maybe that's just dust. Cigarette smoke dust. It stinks. So let's see, that hard drive is bolted on the bottom. I might back up this hard drive just as a precaution. So there's the hard drive. Screws out of there. Yuck. This thing is so gross. Alright, so I need to find a small... So this is a Pendum P4 model M300U. Micro ATX power supply, so that's what I need. So my electric screwdriver has gone kaput. I'm gonna get this power supply out here. I've ordered a new micro ATX power supply. Should be here tomorrow. Now I just want to see how the power cord goes into here because I'll have to do it the same way on the new one. Hopefully this is just an extension cable or something and it'll go in normally. Okay, we've got everything zip tied to everything else. Just need to be careful that I don't cut any wires. I'm gonna have to lift the motherboard to get that power cable out of there. I'm loosening the two screws at the back but not removing them, and then I remove these two, so hopefully I can get the motherboard up high enough to get that cable out of there. Oh no, I'll have to remove that back one as well. Didn't really want to take the motherboard all the way out. Interesting. So there's a stanchion or a screw boss that it's sitting on, so I do need to take this all the way out. Well, this is a good opportunity to clean under there. I've got another zip tie. So I can't just pull this. It's stuck, presumably with something to do with the power cable, the AC cable that comes in. So I think it's screwed into the top there. So I need to take this fan out. And I'm just taking it apart, bit by bit. Oh God. Now this is good old-fashioned dust, cigarette smoke dust. So that case fan is plugged into the motherboard. Right, so the power supply is free. The power supply, like the main AC cable, comes through here. I think I need to take... There's a little panel that's, I think, holding this cable in. So I think that's what's holding this in place. There might be a screw somewhere, but I can't see it. I think I have to open this up. Ugh. I've got to do something about this fan. I can't in good conscience leave it like that. It makes me kind of... It's kind of gross. Okay, so there's a screw underneath this panel. Must just be some clips. Oh, this is getting dust everywhere. Does the front panel come off? Must. Hasty. Oh, there's some screws that if I just put my head down a little bit, I'll see that there are 2 screws here. And so then that top panel will come off. Yeah. All different size screws. Okay. So I can see, now that I've got this top panel taken off, I should probably tack this motherboard back in place so it doesn't slide around. I'm going to do that. Put some motherboard screws back in. Alright, so that's what we're looking at. We've got the AC plug comes from the back of the computer around the case and plugs into the power supply here. So now that's loose from the bracket. I'm just gonna slide it forward like this. Ah, this is so bad. Right, so I'm going to need that bracket off of the power supply. I'm going to take this into the back and blow these parts out. Okay, the new power supply has arrived, and I'm hoping it is compatible. It looks right, as far as I can tell. Weird artwork to have for a power supply with wisps of smoke. It's kind of the last thing you want to see with your power supply, I think. Smoke. Let's see. So we've got CPU power, motherboard power, and a few Molex and SATA power connectors. Looks right to me. So I cleaned everything out pretty thoroughly yesterday. Not entirely thoroughly. The backside of these blades is really hard to get to. But I think it's a dramatic improvement over where it was. So the customer's hard drive, how does this go back together? So this slides in like this. The hard drive, I can do that last anyway. Gotta get the power supply in first. So there was this bracket that attaches into the frame here. That needs to go on to the power supply. So the power supply will sit in here. And the plug, the AC connector, we are not plugged into AC power at the moment, so that's good. Oh, it's upside down. So, oh, actually, there we go. Yes, that's the way it was. So I've got to screw this onto the bracket first. These tips are not very magnetized. Alright, and then this is plugged in there, and this lays in here like this. The wire tucks away. It's a fit. It's a good match. Good fit. How was this arranged here? So this panel goes on here and two screws come through it. And I'll put these screws through the power supply here, I think. Yeah. I think it was these two short ones. No, that's not right. Was it two of the longer ones? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the longer screws do go in there. Out so I can get to those. Don't like how this tip falls out of here all the time. Okay, now this fan, presume, screws in there, goes up under there. Alright, what do we got? There's a pair of screws there. These stubby ones. Okay, so the way this was before, they had the CPU power running under the motherboard, so let me do that. Oh yeah, I need to screw my... I feel like maybe this was supposed to latch into something. Let me try this again. Like I'm missing a trick here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well good, then these can go back where they belong. Alright. Okay, so we need CPU power. Just making sure that none of the USB ports or Ethernet port aren't being blocked by the little metal tabs that sometimes hang down from the back plate. wrong screw. Yep. Okay. So then we just need 2 drive power connectors. And then this fan, this chassis fan, plugs in here. I'm going to tuck the wire under the motherboard. Yeah, it's a 3-wire pin, 3-pin connector. Let's see, so the hard drive goes in right side up, I think. Just gonna make sure. Yeah. And then it screws in here with these. Another power cable. Just gonna get these wires out of the way. Okay. Alright, let's fire it up and see what we get. I never took that CPU cooler apart, did I? I think I have to do that. The CPU is going to overheat if we don't deal with that cooler. I've got a new quiet fan that is the same size as that, although it's thicker. This CPU cooler I don't think is going to be compatible with this older CPU. Alright, let's just shut this down. I might leave that fan in there, but I'm going to clean the CPU cooler once this thing turns off. There's a decent amount of heat coming off of that cooler. Is this thing not going to shut down? There it goes. That is disgusting. How is this attached? I'm not sure how this CPU heatsink is attached. It moves back and forth. I mean, it probably does have a good thermal bond. I can feel, the heatsink gets warm when the CPU gets warm. So I'm going to just leave it. I'm going to screw this back on and hope that it works. It's much cleaner than it was. And I'm going to look into whether I can replace that other fan. Okay, so this case fan so this is just snapped in there. So it blows this way, that's what we want. So I'm going to have it blow in, down toward the CPU. And I'll snap it in like this. Okay, so there are little guide holes, and then the wire can come out here. Yeah, that's pretty simple. Alright, see if that's any quieter. Much better. Alright, that's it. I'll call the customer and let them know that it's done. It doesn't quite line up there, does it? Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Thanks for watching.